Good morning. This is Attorney Vince Davis, and these are my office hours. How to beat CPS and win. All right, today we're going to talk about the topic how to beat false allegations in a CPS case. It's a topic that should be dear to many people's hearts. It's the number one call that I get from people all across California, all across the country, really, on how to beat false allegations in a CPS case. False allegations are one of the top reasons families are investigated by CPS. The topic draws in viewers and callers who feel wrongfully or blindsided and gives them real stories and real strategies. All right. I want to welcome all the viewers who are watching this live and all of those who will watch it taped, because this is taped and live streamed to 8 different social media platforms, one of them being my YouTube channel. I want to share a statistic with you. In my experience, and from things that I've read and have been published, it's my opinion that over 60% of CPS investigations lead to no findings. But the damage that CPS can do during the investigation is already done. I want to tell you that I shared yesterday about a false allegation that was made against me probably about 30 years ago as a parent. I don't know if it was much of a false allegation, but the allegation led to an investigation of me and my wife and my children. And had I not been there, had my wife gone through this herself, it would have been devastating. My children, if I had allowed my children to be interviewed, it probably would have been emotionally or psychologically damaging to the children. So first of all, let's talk about, where do false allegations come from? Like, how does the social worker even know or think to contact you? Because very rarely do they ever see incidences of child abuse. They rely on people calling in and making these reports. Now, here are some of the top groups of people that make false allegations. Number one, ex-spouses, or ex-significant others make them during custody battles. I have about 5 or 6 of those cases that are active in my office right now, where the ex-spouse, the ex-significant other, made false allegations against my client as the direct result of a divorce or a custody battle in the family law arena. Another sense or segment of the population that can make false allegations are angry neighbors, teachers, and employers. Some of these folks have personality conflicts with you. And, the source of the conflict may be them or you or both of you. Now, a lot of the people in this category can make allegations against you because the ramifications are very low. For example, if I were your neighbor and I didn't like you, say we were having a dispute over noise or a fruit tree that's on both sides of the fence or something, I could call up CPS in Los Angeles County and make an anonymous report about you and your children. Or if it's not anonymous, I can make that report and it's confidential and you'll never find out. Nine times out of 10, you'll never find out who made the allegation. So that's a way that people in those categories get back at you. Another place that false allegations come from are mistaken, and I'll say, or intentional reports from mandated reporters. I just mentioned teachers, they're mandated reporters. But here's a big topic that comes up quite a bit. I see this maybe 3 or 4 times a month. A hospital, a doctor, a nurse makes a false allegation against you, sometimes to cover up medical malpractice. There's a book that was written, and you can get it on Amazon. It's called Medical Kidnap, and it's all about false allegations being made by medical professionals in order to cover up mistakes that they've made. I'll give you an example. This has to be a couple of years ago. I did a trial in Sacramento, and I represented the mother, and the father was represented by another attorney who I know very well. And the allegations were that the young child, maybe 18 months old, had bone fractures or rib fractures. And we hired an expert, a very well-known expert here in Los Angeles County, but he's a doctor, but he testifies all over. He went over the medical records and he realized that the timing of this injury resulted in the injury being caused during a period of time where the child was in intensive care in the hospital. And as we dug further and further and further into the case, we realized that this child's ribs were likely broken because they don't really have ribs at this point. They have cartilage at 18 months old. That they were broken by a medical person who was giving CPR to the child, but giving CPR to a child in the incorrect manner. Now, I didn't know this, and you probably don't know this, but when you give an adult CPR, there's a certain way to do it. They usually have, strong bones, and their bones can withstand the pressure of giving CPR. Hitting the chest, pumping the chest. But on a baby who doesn't really have bones but has delicate cartilage, you can't give CPR the same way because it will end up cracking or breaking the cartilage/bone. Well, it turns out that in the medical records, deep into the medical records, we discovered that CPR was given by hospital personnel who gave CPR the wrong way, thus causing the fractures that were later reported and attributed to the father and mother. But without our expert medical doctor telling us the timing of the fracture, because apparently as experts, they can look at x-rays and determine the time frame of the injury. Without that doctor coming to court and testifying that the injury occurred during this certain period of time, and that period of time lined up when the child was in the custody of the hospital, not the parents. We ended up winning that case and the children being returned to the parents. As it turned out, I had an investigator who was conducting an investigation on this particular hospital up north. And this hospital had many claims of malpractice of people, specifically children, being injured while in their care and custody. In this particular case, I can't say whether it was purposeful or not, but when the injuries were found, of course the hospital blamed the parents and told the social worker it was the parents' fault, when in fact it wasn't the parent's fault at all. There are many, many false accusations made anonymously on the children on the hot child abuse hotline. So sometimes you don't even know where these allegations are coming from. Next, I want to talk about what happens after the report is made regarding the child abuse, whether false or not false. The CPS protocol is that they have to do an investigation. They have to do interviews and they have to do home visits. Now, let's think about this. They have to do an investigation. That means they're going to want to come out and talk to you, talk to your children, talk to percipient witnesses or alleged percipient witnesses. One of the things I'm here to tell you is you don't have to participate in that investigation. A social worker or a police officer can never get a court order to make you talk to them. However, they are specifically and highly trained investigators. They are able to manipulate and convince you to sit down and talk to them. I would suggest that you don't talk to them without an attorney being present. And it should be an attorney who's experienced in CPS law. I always get this scenario. Investigator comes out and the person arranged for their family law or divorce attorney to be present. Okay. In my opinion, 95% of family law lawyers don't know anything about CPS law. So if you're sitting there during the investigation and the interview with an attorney that's not trained in CPS law and CPS tactics, you're making a big mistake because you can't later argue that you were unfairly interviewed because you had an attorney present. Having an attorney present who is not experienced in CPS law will sometimes do more harm than good. And I've seen many cases where the family law attorney has told the client, given them bad advice regarding a CPS investigation. One of the things you have to be concerned about is when CPS comes to interview you or try to interview or interview percipient witnesses, they often assume guilt until proven innocent. And you know that our standard here is innocent and proven guilty. But if you assume guilt and you're the interviewer, that's a whole different type of interview. It's a whole different investigation. They start up from the premise that you're guilty and they're there to get facts to prove it so they can take you to court, either a CPS court to take your children away or to help file a criminal complaint against you. All right? So when they say, we just want to talk, that's the most dangerous thing that a social worker can say to you because you do not know or do not realize that this person is not your friend and is not there to help you. They're assuming that you are guilty and that they're just there to get information from you. I'm sure you've all seen in the movies and on television, there's a good cop and a bad cop. A good cop, a person, a social worker who's portraying the good cop can always get information from you no matter who you are. So my advice is don't talk to social workers, even if they portray that they are your friends, unless you have an experienced CPS attorney with you in person or over the phone. Okay? All right. Next segment. What can you do immediately upon learning that you're being investigated? Number one, in writing, via text, email, ask for written allegations. Ask why they want to investigate you. Do not agree to do interviews without experienced CPS counsel. The next thing you should do is buy one of those spiral notebooks from Walmart or Target or wherever and start documenting everything, every detail. Excuse me, you should also request a copy of the CPS file. And in California, they may require you to file what's called a WIC, Welfare and Institutions Code Section 827 petition to get a copy of the file. The next thing you should do is you should get character reference letters from family, friends, teachers, religious leaders, people that know you and know the children. During the investigation and possibly during the case, these character letters will become important. The general rule in California in the courtroom is that character evidence is generally not admissible, but it is admissible if character is at issue. And there's been at least one evidentiary scholar in California, Bernard Jefferson, who has written that in CPS cases, character is always an issue. So get the character letters. You can always give them to the social worker, where I think they may have some effect. I think they would have effect with the minor's attorney, and whether they can have an effect inside the courtroom, that's going to be up to the judge and your attorney. All right, the next segment, let's talk about legal strategies for fighting back. The number one thing that you must do is you must hire or request your court-appointed attorney as soon as possible. Don't delay on this. You need to start talking to an attorney who is competent in the CPS area. The next thing, if you are adamant that it is a false accusation, file a grievance or complaint with your CPS agency, with the Department of Health and Human Services in Washington, D.C. And if you think your rights are being violated, you can file a complaint with the Department of Justice, the U.S. Department of Justice Civil Rights Division in your geographic area. The next thing you should do is consider filing a civil rights lawsuit. The general civil rights statute or law in America is 42 U.S.C. Section 1983. That's Title 42 of the United States Code, Section 1983. If the conduct is serious, you should be talking to a civil rights lawyer. And it's always good if you could find a lawyer like myself that practices in CPS law and in the civil rights arena. The last thing you should do is consult outside resources. I have an outside resource that I've established. It's on a site called School, SKOOL.com. Consider joining that site as a resource site and get access to different techniques and videos and educational products that I have there. You can also take a look at my Stand Store and also my YouTube channel. I think I have almost 4,000 videos on my YouTube channel. Most of them are free. You know, I would like for people that are watching today to invite you to share your experience with CPS. We have a show on Facebook and on YouTube that's called CPS The Horror Stories. And it's about people from all over the country and some international folks as well, sharing their story and their experiences with CPS. Yes, they have CPS in other countries. Some of them are a lot different, but they do have CPS in other countries. You can share your story online with the public. if you contact Grace at vincentwdavis.com. Grace is the producer of that show, and she'll get you on, and you'll be interviewed by one of our hosts, and you can tell your horror story. The reason why I think this is important is because if you share your story, other people watching will realize that they're not alone, that it's not just them, it's really the system. Our Fight CPS school, SKOOL, actually has detailed training about how to help yourself, help your private attorney, and or help your court-appointed attorney in battling CPS. So that's a resource that you should definitely consider. False allegations don't have to ruin your life, but only if you know how to fight back. So don't crawl into a hole when these false allegations are made against you. Learn how to fight back because you can fight back. All right, looking at the comments and the questions this morning. Spice my doggy, good morning. This is the reason why I'm here, false allegations. Okay. Spice, I hope this little 20-25 minute office hour has helped you. From Beloved on YouTube. Good morning, Attorney Vincent. Thank you so much for all these office hour shows you're giving us all. Thank you so much. My beloved, I want to let you know that these office hours are 7 days a week at 6:30 to 7 a.m. Pacific time. So keep watching and keep giving me those likes for the algorithm. Beloved says, I share with my friends and family. Great. Thank you very much for doing that. Now, if you want to get in touch with me, you can call me at the bottom right-hand corner. The number is 888-888-6582. Give me a call. You can call 24/7. We have a receptionist or receptionists who man the phone 24/7 for those emergency calls. And if it's truly an emergency, they can get in touch with me 24/7. All right. Well, today's Easter Sunday. I want to wish everyone a happy Easter Sunday. Be safe out there, and we'll see you tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for more office hours.